Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube. Head over there, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available through Spotify. And if you'd like to contact the show, you'll get us on Twitter at _upper_tier, or you can hit us up on Facebook or Instagram, the Upper Tier. Joining me tonight, as always, for my preview shows, Champions League Match Week 4. Darren, how we doing, my man?
I'm all good, brother. How are you?
Not too bad at all. This is a pivotal week for the English clubs in terms of the Champions League. This is where you nail down potentially your qualification or your seeding in the group or whatever it is. This is the week that separates the men from the boys in the Champions League, as we say. Match week 4.
To coin a phrase, this is where the magic happens.
Absolutely. Let's get off. First of all, we'll have a look on Tuesday. It's Group E is there. Bayern Munich, Benfica, Dynamo Kiev and Barcelona. Bayern Munich look like they're home and hosed without a shadow of a doubt. But Barcelona, this is a huge match for Barcelona, isn't it? They've been struggling big time and they could easily go out.
They could. I think, personally, that there was one eye on this with the second of Koeman, if I'm honest. I think Barca at the start of the season probably would have envisaged a tough season in La Liga, and probably, top 4 at this stage would be a pretty good result for Barcelona in La Liga. But I think the Champions League is something they're kind of relying on, maybe from a financial point of view, to get through those group stages, to add a few pesos or pesetas, as they were, into the bank balance for Barca. Yeah. I think there was one eye on this when they made the change, and I think they'll be coming out really looking for a victory on match night 4, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely needed anyway. Nothing less than a victory. Even a draw would put them in a precarious position.
Absolutely.
And just the thoughts of watching Barcelona play football on a Thursday night in Europe would be just scary, wouldn't it, in terms of football, the way things have panned out?
Yeah, it would. But there's been a number of things over the last few years that, stuff that we've probably seen that we never imagined or envisaged seeing,
Yeah.
Football has changed very much over the last kind of 10 to 15 years, seeing the way that money has either driven clubs to success or driven them away from it.
To bankruptcy,
It really has. And it's a lesson out there to all clubs. And, we've said it before and we'll say it again, make sure your house is in order and don't try and put too much in there to, don't kind of roll the dice too much on things, because, you'll end up on the steps of a court and you're only kicking the arse away and going out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Champions League money is vital to them, especially this year with what we know. Yeah. Let's move on then. Group F, which is your own team's group. You're sitting there top of the group in pole position, but we know that this is a kind of a fine line. I know we talk about these fine lines and fine margins, but this is a potential banana skin type of group for all 3 teams there. If you look at yourselves, Villarreal and Atalanta, there's no doubt only 2 can go through, and someone's going to be very upset with how tight this group is.
I think at the start of the group, Villarreal and Atalanta would have envisaged themselves playing for second place. And that's not just being a United fan and looking at it from kind of rose-tinted glasses. I think they would have thought it's one of us going through with United. At the minute, match night 3 was pretty tough for us. Obviously, a very, very late winner against Atalanta. And at one stage, I think we were bottom of the...
And match night 2.
Yeah, match night 2 was tough as well, with Villarreal. But I mean, I think match night 3, it was such a must win. And I mean, it's at one stage on match night 2, we're 2-0 down and we're bottom of the group. And only a second half where you come out like we did, and we dominated them, and we kind of, it was like the old days. We sucked that ball into the net, really, didn't we?
Bit of character.
Yeah, thankfully they stood up and showed a little bit of character. But I think, and I had spoken to you before about this, I think Atalanta will see this as a massive game for them. And I think they're really going to go gung-ho and try and win this game, because I think they understand without a victory tomorrow night, they're going to find it tough to get through this group.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to come out and they're going to try and beat United. And I think that might ultimately be their downfall, because I think the more they push and press against United, I think that plays into our hands because we're a much better counter-attacking team away from home than we are maybe at home with a lot of the football and stuff like that, you know. There is a little bit of a weakness at in the Atlanta back four and at the keeper there. Keeper a reasonable game, but I think we can get at these guys on the bounce, and I think I fully expect United to get a win, I have to be honest.
Yeah, it'll certainly be an interesting, but definitely cement yourselves at the top of the group anyway. So that's and we'll put that space between yourselves and Atalanta as well. So be a massive.
It give us a possibility of qualifying on match night 5 with a win at home against Young Boys. Yeah. And then you could go away to Villarreal and not really worry about things, which would be unbelievable after losing your first game against Young Boys away, you know.
But history would say it's never going to go that easy, is it? It'll always get down to that last game. There'll always be something.
Probably not, you know.
Yeah, let's move on. Group G. Wolfsburg, Salzburg, Sevilla, and Lille. Salzburg have done very well. They're top of the group there, but Lille have been very disappointing, haven't they? Coming off like winning the league, they've been poor in the league, been poor in the Champions League.
They have
very, very disappointing.
They have. They were a goal up at the weekend against PSG, and then they lost in the end. You know, everything petered out for them. They did make changes in the summer, and we've seen them be that kind of feeder club for some of the bigger teams. You know, you've seen obviously the lad Victor Osimhen, who's ended up at Napoli and looks a really good footballer. You've got the goalkeeper who's gone to AC Milan, Mike Maignan. And there's a couple of others that left as well.
The manager left, didn't he?
Yeah, the gaffer left
as well.
And he was the one that kind of had put everything in place, you know. Now listen, they do have some good footballers. But I do think again, when you become a selling side like that, and this is what we talked about with the likes of Leipzig, when you become a selling club like that and you start shipping your best players out on a regular basis, it can be hard to keep that momentum of driving forward and you know, improving season on season.
You pull the heart out of the club, really, don't you? Especially if you lose, especially the manager. I mean, it was such a pivotal season last season, and then look, you're up against a PSG there that are bringing in Messi and bringing in Donnarumma and like the squad that they had there already, and you're expected to challenge those guys, you know, with the squad that you have. And we love the fairy tale story of last year and stuff like that, but the reality is, you know, it's a bit like Leicester as well. You can have that one season where it happens and everything just falls in place and stuff like that. But you're not going to strike. Lightning doesn't strike twice, you know. And there's
definitely an element of those stars aligning, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
And that perfect storm where everything just at the right time. You look at Mahrez and Kante and some of the guys that were at Leicester who are big footballers now. And I think from a Lille point of view, you'll see that over the next few years. You know, you've obviously got Victor Osimhen who's gone. The boy Jonathan David's a good player. You got the boy Yazici, you've got Sven Botman. There's a lot of good footballers there. And as they slowly, one by one, drift out the door of Lille are going to find it harder and harder to compete at that top table in France.
And then they're going to Sevilla, and they're going to Sevilla tomorrow night, expecting to get a result, to have to win to stay in it.
And Sevilla is just the absolute pits to go to point a result. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's look at Group H, Ian's team, Chelsea. Away to Malmo, which should be a reasonably easy night work for them. Juventus at home to Zenit. Zenit have kind of been the little surprise package in it. They're third in the group at the moment, but they're only 3 points off Chelsea. But again, I think it's Chelsea and Juventus who are just going to work out on this, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it'll be between Chelsea and Juventus. Obviously, Juventus won 1-0 in Turin, didn't they? And I think depending on what Chelsea do in the home, in the return game, let's say, if they can get a victory, obviously, and score a couple of goals, you might see them top the group. But other than that, I think it'll be Juve. I think Juve be happy enough to come in, sit in and try and get some sort of a 0-0 or something like that, because that ultimately would see Juve go through and top the group, you know?
Yeah. Let's move on then. Wednesday, Group A, Man City, Bruges, Leipzig and PSG. You probably called this one a hell of a lot better than I did. You said that Man City having the 2 games against Bruges would put the space between them and Bruges, and that eventually would run out with either a City PSG combination at the top, and Bruges would fall short. And you called it right. I thought Bruges might have given them a better game in match match week 3, but they didn't, and City pulled them apart pretty easy, to be honest.
And I expect more of the same, if I'm honest, on Wednesday night, especially after the weekend result,
Yeah. What about with City having one eye looking towards the derby on Saturday?
I don't think that's how Guardiola works, to be honest with you. I think he'll go out and he'll look at this game. He'll say, we need to win this game to make sure we end up where we want to end up in this Champions League. Because for them, this Champions League is still the holy grail, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think he'll go out, he'll get a performance after the weekend, he'll get a result, and he'll be one step closer to those knockout stages.
Yeah. Should be interesting anyway to see how he feels. I mean, they have a decent squad there, but I wonder would they have one eye on Saturday, because I know that if they were to drop to you guys on Saturday, then they'd be that title race would look very ominous, especially against a Chelsea side that doesn't look like they're going to drop an awful lot of points.
No.
Let's move on. Group B, or my own group, Liverpool in there. So you have AC Milan versus Porto and Liverpool versus Atletico. I know we spoke on the Monday mashup about it, and you think Atletico might just pip us here at Anfield. I think Liverpool will get the job done. I think we'll cement our position at the top of the group, and it may allow us to rotate a little bit and give some of those players a bit of a midweek rest. I think looking at the group at the moment,
this is a tough night. I think this is a tough night. I think you guys don't look as solid at the back as you've had in recent seasons, and I think that's kind of stemming a little bit from the midfield, and you're missing the Fabinho in there to kind of solidify things and keep things nice and tight. And obviously, the fullbacks are so attacking that there is space in behind at times. I think this is a tough game, because I think Atletico are more than happy to absorb, and then once, twice, 3 times to pounce. And because they know the amount of visits they're going to have in that end of the pitch are going to be so low, I think they understand how important it is to be clinical and take those chances when they get them. And I think this is going to be a tough game for Liverpool.
Griezmann out of the game, though, a factor.
Listen, is he a good footballer? Absolutely. Do you want him in your team? Yes, but sometimes guys missing.
Other guys can step up.
Other guys can step up. You've got the boy João Felix. You've got Suarez, obviously, as well. Yannick Carrasco. There's enough in this Atletico team to cause you trouble. Llorente. There's a lot. There is.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting, but certainly it's one of those groups. I mean, if we were able to beat Atletico, if Porto can beat Milan, it puts Porto in a really good position then, to qualify with Liverpool, and it will put Atletico under a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
Milan, I don't think can do anything. I mean, they've no points from 3 games.
They've been so poor.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's that they've been poor. I mean, they were so unlucky against Atletico in that game, And even the Porto game, they've been pretty close, but I just don't think they have enough.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it was 3-2 at home against you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not necessarily the performances, but I think from it, this is a results business, isn't it?
Yeah.
And from a results point of view, they've been poor because they haven't managed to get over the line in games that they were in, and in games that they kind of had a foothold in,
Yeah. I think with our game against them at Anfield, the 3-2 scoreline flattered them really. I think we could have had a bag load of goals on another night, and they did go in a halftime 2-1 up.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think they were unlucky against Atletico as well that time. I think they were only minutes away from winning, weren't they? And they ended up with a draw, I think it was.
That's right.
And again against Porto, so it'll be interesting. Group C, Dortmund, Ajax, Sporting, and Besiktas. Ajax slapping Dortmund up last time out. Gave them a proper hiding. I think it was a 4-0 or 4-1 or something like that.
That's right. This is where a lot of the talk is happening again around the boy Eric Ten Hag. This Ajax team wasn't necessarily a team you would have thought was going to get out of this group. Certainly not to be topping it in the manner they're topping it, and to be so. They've been really, really good, really, really efficient. They're scoring goals. They're measly at the back. They're playing a good brand of football. They got a lot of good young footballers out there in the side, and they play a lovely brand of football. This is really, really a case of Ten Hag putting himself in the shop window, I think. You know,
it's really the Ajax way, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Really, really is. You know, I wouldn't at all be shocked to see, you know, Barcelona or Man United throwing their hat in the ring from. I really, really wouldn't. And I think it's a job he'd relish either of them. You know, I think obviously at Barca, you've got that young Spanish contingent where Barca are obviously things are a little tighter financially and they're trying to do things the older way where they're bringing younger lads through and trying to get them games early on. And, you know, you've got the boy Gavi, you've got Pedri, you've got Ansu Fati, you've got Minguisa. There's a lot of good young players there that could certainly be moulded with a couple of elder players and a little bit of experience, and all of a sudden they wouldn't be a million miles away. You know, I think it'd be an unbelievable appointment, I have to say.
And there's a bit of Dutch blend in there with Memphis as well. And
there is, and
who else is in there? Luke de Jong, is it? Or
well, he won't be there much longer, I don't think, because he's far away from a Dutch footballer as you can get. He probably found his level at Newcastle, and he was pretty poor there.
Yeah. But you'd expect Ajax and Dortmund to run out here as the 1-2 in the group, more or less.
Yeah, Dortmund are without Haaland at the minute, so they are a different sort of a beast without him, you know. But they've still got a serious talent there in the middle of the park in Jude Bellingham. Again, he's another kid that the big teams in England are going to be looking at over the next 2 to 3 years, and how they prize one of them gems out of Dortmund, isn't it? You know, he's a really good looking footballer.
I was in his goal there a few weeks ago where he just skipped through 4 defenders and put it away, and he just looks a proper baller.
He glides. He absolutely glides. And for a guy that's big the way he is, like he's a tall, rangy sort of a lad. He just glides along the ground and glides between people, and you're just thinking, God, this kid's a bit of a throwback, you know.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Group D, which has been an interesting one with the introduction of Sheriff. They've surprised us all. Top of the group at the moment, but this could be a tough night for them. I know it's not an easy place to go, but you would expect the quality of Inter to see this out, would you?
Yeah, I think, you know, after week 2, I did think this is where we'd see Sheriff die off a little bit. You know, I think this is where Inter will take 6 points off them. And then I think Real will beat them after the defeat. So I think Sheriff are ultimately gonna probably end up in third in this group, and they'd probably be very happy with a Europa League spot, if I'm honest.
This is kind of the City Bruges effect, isn't it? It's very, very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, the look of the draw on this is really, really important, isn't it? Who you play in those middle, third and fourth weeks. And I think for Sheriff, they probably would have wanted anyone other than Inter.
Shakhtar probably. Yeah, Shakhtar would have suited them better, absolutely. So the boys could play each other and strip points away. But yeah, I think it's going to be a stretch too far. But it has been one of the stories of the group stages. Them getting that big win against Real and stuff like that. Like it's
absolutely
been outstanding, you know. So hats off to them. Well, yeah, we look forward to it. 2 big days of European football. Going to be absolutely brilliant. Be interesting to see if Ollie can survive part 2 of El Sacco, and also if Liverpool can top the group and basically cement their place in the next round at least. Chelsea, I think, will walk through Malmo, and I'm sure City will probably brush aside Bruges pretty handy. So should be interesting then heading into a big weekend of football before one of our other favourite breaks again, another international break. It's like we're never out of them these days.
Who do you have, 3 to 4 weeks into this? Who would you be looking at as possible contenders?
I think Liverpool are in the mix. I think Bayern Munich are in the mix. But I think we could get a surprise. I think Ajax could surprise us and go a long way. I think he's very, very organised. As you said, he's a nice blend there of youth that's fearless, doesn't mind playing against anyone. And I think you have to respect the team that puts 4 past Dortmund in the vein that Dortmund are in and stuff like that. I think Dortmund could figure, if you have the Erling Haaland boy, if he's in the team, I mean, he's always going to be a danger, and there's always goals in him. And this tournament is all about goals. I think you'll see a drop off from the Inters and the Real Madrids. I think you'll see a drop off from the Barcelonas. I don't think if they even qualify through. But they're the teams. Chelsea, I think, could be a big danger to retain, depending on their form and if they were to get more injuries. But they've weathered the injury so far pretty well. I think United, I suppose it depends on the conundrum what happens with Ollie, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does. And who, if anyone, comes in and what way. I mean, listen, how many times have we seen a manager get sacked and somebody else come in and into the knockout stages and get a team to perform in a manner that got them through knockout games, and all of a sudden they're lifting a trophy? You've seen Roberto Di Matteo and Thomas Tuchel do it. Both of them did it with Chelsea, you know. And I don't think it's beyond the realms if United got somebody in that you could have that, you know, that new manager bounce and kind of push on towards a Champions League semi-final or final. I think it's possible. You know, I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm saying it's possible, especially if it's somebody maybe like a Zinedine Zidane who knows how to get through these knockout phases. I'm sorry, these knockout phases, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think always the goal is to get out of the group. And once you get out of the group, it's the luck of the draw. Anything can happen, you know? But you could see the 4 English teams qualifying. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see some big toys coming up between the English teams themselves.
I think you could see all 4 English teams in the quarters.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think you could. I think it's a strong English contingent this year. I think you could see all English, you know, all 4 English teams in the quarters. And depending on how the ball hopped, then you might see 2, 3, or 4 of them into the semis even.
It'd make for a heck of a draw, won't it? It'll be pretty exciting when we're covering the draws.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, listen, absolute pleasure having you on. This has been our Champions League preview, match week 4 coming up. Pivotal week in the group stage, where teams lay down a marker. As always, Dynamo Podcast Network for the videos on YouTube, Spotify for the audio versions of the show. Let us know your picks for this week, what you think. Are we spot on? Are we slightly off? What you're thinking on it? Are we going to see a couple of upsets? Could Sheriff upset things? Who knows? Could Atalanta upset things? Could Villarreal upset things? Who knows? Could Atletico upset things and throw the group into a bit of turmoil? Who knows? Staring into these matches for week 4. So as always, a pleasure having you on, my friend. We will chat to you again real soon.